Hey there, CS360 students. So in this recording, we're going to go through the second part of Chapter 4. And the main emphasis of this recording is to talk about the app bar, or right here at the top of the app. Gives you the ability to have some action items. It also has an overflow button, and typically you might use this for settings or additional features that you might want to provide access to. So if we scroll down, there are a couple different ways to add the app bar. You can have a default dark theme, or you can use a light theme with a dark app bar. So multiple ways to set it up, and that would be done in the resources styles.xml file, where you can specify the particular theme that you want for your app bar. Keep in mind that that app bar, just like everything else that we've been creating so far in our class, is defined in XML. And so then inside the XML, you would define the action add potentially, or action logout right there, or an about right there. So everything gets defined in XML, and in this case, it is as a menu. And then we have to override an onCreateOptions menu method. And then it does a get menu inflator, inflates, and it looks for the r.menu.appbar underscore menu, which we would have had to have defined in our XML. Once we have a menu defined in the activity class, we determine which one was chosen by overriding the on options item selected method. And you can see here that it takes a menu item as a parameter, and then it switches on the item ID associated with it. So if we have the action ID, we're going to perform whatever action based on that one being selected. If the logout was selected, we're going to handle that particular case and so forth. You can see that they do provide a default where we go to the parent class and provide it the on option item selected. Take note that this does return a Boolean. So inside each of these cases, they are returning true as soon as it performs the action. Let's see here. Okay, so let's go to the next section. So to see the app bar in action, we're going to create the dice roller app that you see right here. So as always, go ahead and create the project, and then you do need to download the drawables.zip. That's going to contain each of these images. So you'll download those, and then you're going to place those in the resources drawable folder. So I have those downloaded, and so let's go ahead and get those added. So go ahead and I'm just going to extract everything. Right there is fine. And so I'm going to go to my resources, drawable layouts, and we are just going to copy and paste. And so I have those in my drawable folder, and that's all good. As always, they walk you through, there is a dice class. So the dice has its number, has the associated image with it. Keep in mind it's got some static fields that we know that 1 to 6 are the values that it can contain. And then it also has a random number generator where we are going to randomly assign the value. So when you do a roll, it will then randomly assign the value. Set number, we are going to set the image ID accordingly to the drawable item. Okay, so we have some colors, we have some strings, so go ahead and copy and paste those into the resources, just like we've always done. We have the activity main layout, so go ahead and copy and paste all that. And then we have an app bar menu that we need to add to our project. So let's go to layouts, add new XML. I'm just going to go to, I'm going to just copy and paste. We're going to call this app bar underscore menu.xml, finish. And I didn't need to put the XML on the end of it. And we're just going to copy and paste in this code for our menu. So it's going to have a stop action, a roll, and then a 1, 2, and a 3 right here. So we've got our main activity. And what did it not like there? Hang tight, I'll be back. And I figured out what my issue was. I wanted to right click on the res underscore menu directory and put that in there. So we need to add a menu directory. We don't have one. And let's place that in the menu directory. All right, great. So now I've got a menu and it is all good now. Okay, so now let's take a look at the main activity. So let's go ahead and get all of that code in there. And what it has is we have the visible dice, an array of all of the dice, and then an image view array so we can have the pictures of those dice. And typically in the onCreate, we are going to get the activity main view. We're going to create our array of dice, and then we're going to create our dice elements. And max dice is set to 3, so we'll have an array with our 3 values. We then have an array of the image views, and so you can see that they are being assigned dice 1, dice 2, and dice 3 right there. Lastly, we call the show dice method, and that's going to turn the images into drawable items, and then we get them to display right here. All right, so we want to add the functionality to our menu. So let's just make sure that this all works and runs. So let's get this rerunning. I'll be back when this is up. Okay, so that's up and running. And so again, we have our menu there. So we have a 1, 2, 3, and then we have some other functionality here that is not hooked up yet because we have not implemented any of the functionality. Okay, so that's up and running. So now let's add the functionality for the on option items selected. So let's go ahead and copy that code, and I'm going to place it in the bottom. So again, we have the first one. So if it's action 1, we're going to change the dice visibility to 1 of them. Otherwise, we have 2 of them. Otherwise, we have 3 of them. And so down here, it calls that particular method, and it is resetting our image views and then hiding the remaining ones. So let's get the rolling the dice implemented in there as well. So we have our menu. So let's get that declared at the top. And then we're going to on create options menu. We're going to make our reference to it. So there it is right there. We're going to add a countdown timer. This is going to make those And then we're going to add these cases to the on options item selected. And roll dice, we need to get that method created. And what this roll dice method is doing is, if our timer hasn't timed out yet, we create a new timer, and then each tick, what it's going to do is it's going to roll the dice. It's going to show them, and you can see that it's got a 2000 and a 100 millisecond countdown here. And it's going to show the dice, and then this countdown timer gets called using a start. So we got some kind of functional code that you can do in Java. And I think we should have everything up and running. The big idea here is that in the on options item selected for our app bar, we choose which menu choice was selected, and then we handle their implementation. So let's see if this is all up and running. Emulator, and we are going to run this. And so we have it rolling. There they go. We can choose to have 2 of them. We can choose to have all 3. We can choose to have just 1 of them. So if I run it, so this is randomly rolling for our 2 seconds, I think is what that value was. And so if we have 2 of them and so forth. Again, the main idea about this is to understand how to hook up the menus. And if we click the X, it does go ahead and that's our stop, which was right there. There's our stop. Cancels the timer and sets the item to not be visible anymore. Okay. The next thing that you might be interested in is using some dialog windows. In particular, maybe for your application that you're going to be building for the term, is you might want to provide a dialog where they can provide a yes or no type answer. To do that, you're going to be extending the dialog framework as a fragment. And then to display it, you create it. You set its title, you set the message, you set the positive button, and then you call the builder.create, and it will then down here, after it gets created, you call its show method, and it will show you that particular dialog. What's of more interest is how do you handle when the user selected something? And so you might have multiple buttons in the big scheme of things, doesn't matter how many you have. What you do is in the on create dialog, you then handle the on clicks just like you see here. So pretty simple, just add the functionality that you want to do based on if it was yes, no, or if it was a handle later. And they do have the example here where they show a list in our application. So if you want to add this to the dice, you can go ahead and do that. And yeah. Last couple ideas, and I'm going to leave this to you. They do talk about in section 410 and 411 some of the different types of sensors that are available. And so you can do the virtual sensors in the emulator where you can rotate it, shake it, move it around. You can see the resulting values right there. They do give you the code to handle that. And again, I'm going to let you look through that on your own. The other one to look at is they provide the accelerometer and the gyroscope. So the accelerometer, here's the usage of it. And then the gyroscope, so you can get the coordinates. And then I thought it had the, oh, here it is. And so then here is the compass example where as it's running, you could point in different directions, and it will then point you as you see here. Again, I'm going to leave that as a read for you to do, a nice to know, but we're not going to implement it for our term project. All right, that's it. I will talk to you next time.